Okay, well, with that, hello and welcome to another lecture. Today, we're going to be going over the shoulder joint, and probably part one of a two-part for the shoulder, because shoulders are a little weird, and you're going to see why real quick as I start diving into it. So you'll notice here, I got a big dumb skeleton that I just took off Google Images, which I believe is fair use because of some kind of education law. I don't know. Let's start diving into shoulders. Now, I'm going to make them a little lighter here, but before I start drawing on stuff, I'm going to make sure I preface this with, Mr. Bones, thank you very much. I'm going to preface this with, as always, when I teach anatomy, I'm going to focus on the underlying structures. I'm a broken record with that, but it's all about the underlying structures. If you know what's there, you can't draw it wrong. You don't guess when you know what's there, right? So why do I keep going about that? Because I want you to succeed as an artist, okay? So I want you to just run that mantra through your head while you're going to bed every night, like learn what's there, okay? So, what is there? This is going to surprise a lot of you, but the fundamental structure of the human body is a skeleton. I know, that's going to really blow some minds right now. But you all have one, I assume. I assume that's a safe assumption. And the relevant bones to the shoulder joint on this big dumb skeleton are this one. Draw, thank you. This fella right here. This fella right here. I'm just going to lose a tracer. And then there's this fella right here in the back. And then if you want to get kind of tricky, you could say this one too. Now, what are these bones, you might say? Well, don't worry. I'm going to tell you. So, these bones are as follows. This one here is the collarbone. Or if you want to show off to your friends, you can call it AKA a clavicle. Okay? We talked about that a little last lecture with the neck, because a lot of muscles in the neck connect to the collarbone and or the clavicle. And in the back here, you have the scapula. That's that shoulder blade, right? And right here, this is your upper arm. It's your humerus. A little trick to remember why it's called the humerus is when when you hit your elbow real hard and it feels real funny, and we all say, I hit my funny bone. It's because you hit your humerus. There's a big nerve down at the bottom of your humerus. So, little fun fact for you. And of course, we have the rib cage. So we don't need the skeleton anymore. We got all the basics here. These are your big important bones. Okay? Say it with me. Clavicle, scapula, humerus, rib cage. Feel free to palpate around your body. We aren't in a room together. You can just touch yourself as much as you want. No one can see it. Just God. Yeah, your spatula. Yeah, it's your spatula. I can't think of other puns for the rest of the body, so just go with spatula. Okay, so 4 bones, right? 4 major bones. Let's do those from the side and from the back as well. So we can probably just flip this puppy around, do a little hack here, right? So from the back, it looks like this. Little mirror trick here in the using the power of Photoshop. You have your scapula. Scapula is a really weird bone, actually. It's got like these all kinds of little hooks and stuff on it for insertions, which I'm going to go over in a sec. Right, so there's your back. Right. Before I dive into the muscles, well, let me label those again. Let's label those again. We like labels, right? Do we like labels? I assume we do. I like labels. So here's your scap, or your spatula. That's not technically correct, but I like that you wrote that, and I'm going to keep that because that's funny. Your spatula bone. Humerus, and the collarbone you can't really see from the back because what's in the way? Your big stupid rib cage, which isn't actually shape like that from the back. More like that. Cool. Okay, now, that's it. Those are the 4 bones that are involved. Are you guys overwhelmed yet? Or like, okay, I can digest that, right? I thought Spatula was pretty humorous. But hopefully you guys are all nodding along. I'll wait. Now that we can see the chat on the reference videos, I can just sit here and... Father's Day was last week, by the way. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. That's very true. Okay. So I saw 1 yes. That means you all understand it. So I'm going to keep going. Now, before I get in to muscles, I want to remind you how muscles work, because this is how your body works. And I need you to understand this, because as soon as you start getting it, the body makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to go real quick. A muscle, right? Muscles, how they work is you got a bone. Let me grab a black here, right? We'll just say this here is this is your forearm. Here's your humerus, right? So we got 2 bones. How's a muscle work? It connects via tendons. We'll grab let's do this here, right? And then it lays over the bone, right? That's how it works. Then it connects via tendons, and muscles only contract, right? And as they contract, things move. Okay, is that in there? We starting to really like, okay, muscles connect via tendons to bones, muscles contract, body moves. Is that clear? Because if that is not clear, this next part's going to get real weird real quick. Let you guys sit on that one and kind of go, okay. All right, so we're going to just leave that there. Next room, we'll start drawing over stuff. I'll put that there, put that there. Moving stuff around for later. Okay. As far as your important muscles, no, I'm only going to do the top of the shoulder. I'm not going to do the arm or the underside, okay? Just the top stuff. We have on the front, the big fellas are your deltoid. That's the big cap of meat on your shoulder. And let's make these bigger. Here, delete these. Delete these. Okay. A little smaller. Cool. We got the deltoid. That's your big cap. Put that fella in. Okay. We'll do a couple different colors here. Let me sketch these out, make sure I get these right. So we got the pec, the deltoid, the trap is on the back. Yeah, I got a way to do this now. Flat, trap. We're going to call something the mess, which I'm not going to get into because it is the mess. You can go, what does that even mean? We'll get there, don't worry. And you'll go like, yeah, okay, the mess was a good name for the whatever that is. And actually, we'll have a little note for the neck part, which will show up. We'll draw those in as a little nod to the last lecture. Okay. Double checking, and maybe do a little bicep, tricep are important too. Okay. That should be enough. So we move to the front. Let's start with the insertion of the pec. What is a pec? That's your chest muscle, right? Like the nipple pec, right? That's kind of a boobie. How this works is it The tendon is here on the humerus. This is for the pec, right? We'll do the color there. And there are 3 heads. That means there's 3 separate parts to the muscle. The muscles, there's 3 small muscles that make the overall major one that connect here to the clavicle. Right, there's one head, and then there's another head here, and it comes around onto the rib cage. Right, and this is all tendon, right? That's how it connects. Does that make sense so far? You see what I'm talking about? So like if you put your arms out, you're trying to like touch your hands behind your back, and then you bring your hands in front of you, so you see your fist in front of your face. That motion where you bring your hands from behind you to in front of you, your pecs are pulling. Does that make sense? We're starting to see why I keep going about learning how the muscles work and how they insert. So you're like, oh, okay, right. Right? So then you'll know if your character, if their arms are coming forward in any way in front of the body, you'll know to make the pec pop, because that pec should be flexing and getting big as the muscle fibers tighten, get all strong looking. Okay. So what else is there on that big old juicy arm? Well, on the front, here we're going to label these, keep track for anybody who wants to look at the reference layers. When it stretches out, what else moves? A lot of stuff. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm just going to show you. So one of the reasons I want to show you these structures here is how things layer, because as the arm, like for instance, moves up and everyone goes like, I don't know how to draw that. If you want to show how the muscles are layered on top of each other, it'll go, oh, okay. Okay. So there's the pec. The next what you have, and let's do a blue for the bicep. Okay, what does the bicep do? What does the bicep do? It's how you impress girls, I've heard. I don't know. I hear girls like biceps, so it might be a lie. Biceps, actually, they connect here on the forearm, and they run up along the top, and then there's actually, they kind of are underneath like this, right? That's your bicep. And there's actually 2 heads to your bicep, but we won't. Yeah, girls like biceps, right? That's just a fact, right? And that's not quite right. I should move that over. It should be a little over. Now, a little aside here, as I get particular about where the insertions may or may not be, you have to keep in mind that these are not actually universal on like exact insertion points on people. People have slightly different insertion points. And so if you go and do muscle studies of bodybuilders, you'll notice that there's actually slight differences to the shapes of the muscles person to person to person. You just need to know the generals. And that way when you go and do your drawings, you're like, okay, I can play with this. I can kind of make sense of it. So there's our bicep. It has 2 heads. Bi means 2. There are 2 heads. When I say heads, what do I mean? I mean that there is a major muscle group in terms there is a bicep, and then there's these like smaller heads that are working together to make the overall bicep. A bicep has a long and a short head, if you want to go look into more of that. Okay, so our bicep, pec. Now for the big fun part. We turn these down some more. As we keep layering our muscles, we need to do the shoulder. And the shoulder is actually a muscle comprised of 3 muscles. It's the deltoid. There is the front head, the medial head, and the rear head. Let me show you one of my favorite examples of this before I start drawing it. I'm going to just go find it. And that is Dragon Ball Z. Akira Toriyama loves to define the shoulders. That's one of his, I'd say one of his artistic hallmarks, is he really loves defined, jacked shoulders. And that's awesome, right? And let's find a good one here. Here's a nice one, right? Oh, Goku. Who doesn't love Goku? Everybody love Goku. Well, Akira Toriyama knows his general areas and just turns them up because Super Saiyans are yoked, right? So I'm going to drop in Goku real quick as my precursor here. We're going to put him over the side because I think Goku's a good learning tool. And this is not the shoulder layer, but the Goku layer. Goku teaches us many lessons, not just how shoulders work, but how to believe in ourselves and all kinds of useful things like that. So I'm a big fan of Goku. You should be too. If you're not, you're wrong. And that's okay. Not everyone, and not everyone makes good life decisions, but Goku is someone you should look up to, okay? If you have a problem with that, I'm going to fail you. There's no grades. I'm going to invent grades just to fail you for not liking Goku. Anyway, so as we look at Goku here on our shoulder, you'll notice 3 distinct, that's a terrible color for this. Let's, red should pop. Let's try red, or pink will pop. Okay. So you can see here we have these distinct areas. And this happens to be the 3 heads of the deltoid, right? And every time you watch Dragon Ball Z, you're like, oh, cool. Right, so how does that work? So turn off our bicep and our pec, or at least turn them down. Turn down our bicep and our pec. Go to our shoulder. The first head, the front head, let's see here. It connects on the collarbone and comes down like this, right? It sits kind of a little bit over top of the pec. And there's another one here from the side that you don't see from the front. That's the medial head. And the medial head actually connects to the scapula, okay? Am I keeping everybody here so far? You can see how this is actually like probably just one lecture, and because there's what's underneath it. It's like there's a lot. Like shoulders are really weird. There's a lot. Okay. All right, so let's do the back. We'll just sketch it in because I think everyone's kind of following along here, so let's just sketch it in the back real quick. Except, oh no, there's different muscles on the back of the body. Why is God like this? Can't he make simple creatures? No. No. He can't. He has a problem. Sometimes I think God doesn't like us. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, hi. Welcome to the fun. Okay. So, the opposing muscle to your pec on the back of your body, the antagonist muscle, the one that pulls your arms back behind you, it's called your lat. I'll use the same color. And it kind of works like your pec, but on the back of your body. It connects here, right, on your humerus, and it comes down. This color connects this way, right? And there's a few heads to it, but this is your lat. Let's label these. I should be labeling these, right? So this is your lat. This is your pec, right? And on the back of the arm, we have something called the tricep, right? And it's called a tricep because there's now 3 heads. And it works down the arm like this. There's 3 heads. Actually, it's way bigger than that. What am I doing? It actually comes down like this, right? All the way down. Tricep, 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 right? And this is your tricep. And it works opposing to your bicep when you have your fist. So your arm's all bunched up, right? If you have your arm, you have your fist here. You want your arm to go down. You want to make it look like this. You know, your fist down. Your tricep did that, right? Your tricep. We go back to our Goku, our excellent reference of Goku. That is actually right here. This is the tricep. You can see that he has the one head here, and this one's a little visible there, right? Is Goku a really good learning tool or what, guys? Like, come on, he's so ripped and shredded. It's just showing, like, right, you can see here, here's the insertions of his pec. You can see how it's tucked in under the shoulder and it connects to the collarbone here. And you can see this line right here? That's the different heads of the pec. You can see there's the one head here, the head here, and the head here. Isn't that just great? This is just like a game changer. I think I should just be sketching over Goku and just using him, right? I'll even just, you know. Goku is such a great learning tool. Honestly. Right, so here's the heads of the pec. I'll just see. Here's the bicep, right? You can see that. This is actually the tricep. Right here. Here's the tricep. And here are the 3 heads of the deltoid. Look at that. Yeah, well, Goku is like, to your point, Dragon, his his hair and his face is not useful, but actually Dragon Ball Z has fairly good respect for human musculature. I guess because, you know, they're drawing Super Jack characters. So a lot of the times, especially modern DBZ, is not a bad reference for studying how to draw muscles. So if you want to get like a more anime style of like drawing muscles, like Goku is actually awesome, or Vegeta, whichever way you swing. You know, I don't judge. Anyways, back to the back. And then you have here on the back of your body, you have the rear head of the deltoid, and that connects to the scapula, right? Connects to the scapula here. Then you have on the side of the scapula is your medial and or lateral head of the deltoid. Okay. And then I will actually, I gotta color these in. Oh Lord. Those are your deltoids, neck. This one's a lat. This one's a trap. No, I didn't do the, I didn't do the trap. Oh no. So this is from last week, or last week, I think it was, when we did the neck. Let me cover those real quick. I'll just grab a thread and slap them in, right? You have your sternocleidomastoid that comes down to the collarbone here, and your trap here, right? So there's your trap. It comes down like that. Sternocleido. And you'll notice there's this, like, what is this? That's where the mess is. There's a lot of muscles in there, and they're mean. All kinds of, like, infraspinatus, teres major, minor. I would just, for now, I would maybe just, unless you want to really, like, jump into anatomy, I wouldn't worry about this too much. Maybe just draw it as one area, because there's a lot in here. You could do a whole lecture on just this area. They do some crazy stuff in there. You know, some people just do like this when they draw it. Some people do like this when they draw it. Little Y. You can kind of cheat it with a Y. That usually gets a pretty good idea of it if you kind of think of it in 3 blocks. But there's a lot in there. Trust me. I'm not going to overwhelm you with the mess. We'll just leave it as the as a Y. That's good. Or even just this. It's fine. Or I don't know. Let's put a smiley face in there. The mess. Right? Okay. Is that making sense for muscles and bones? Let me do the side real quick, actually. I noticed that might be a good idea. Here, let's move you down, Goku. I love you. Oh, that's not proper. Let's get Goku out of here. Because you'll notice on old Gokes, what is this? That's a muscle you see mostly from the side. It is called the, it's called the, oh my god, I forgot the name. It's like the brachii or something. The top red neck, that is from the neck lecture. This is the sternocleidomastoid. And let me actually, I didn't label all these. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So these are your deltoids. This is the front deltoid. This is the medial or lateral deltoid. This is the rear delt. I should just write delt, call it delts. Medial delt. Lat, tricep, bicep. And then these muscles from the top, this is your sternocleidomastoid. Always a little bit of a challenge to spell it. Right? And then this here is your trapezius. Let's write a trap. That's your trap. And then this fella is just going to be called the mess because there's a lot going on in there. Okay. That's all singing so far. Everyone's like, yeah. Then I'll show you the side view, and then we'll get into like how the arms and the muscles actually look when you draw them. Okay. Now, really important, is this starting to make a little more sense of the shoulder for you when we go in this kind of depth where it's like you can kind of see the pieces, right? Okay, so this is good. I like that this is working. Let me just, I gotta make some room for the side here. I didn't think about that when I put in the labels. I don't want to write sternocleidomastoid again, so I'm going to just move this over up here. I'm going to just tuck this up because writing it twice would just make me look stupid. It's a trap. I'm going to get rid of the mess. There is no getting rid of the mess. You can't change who you are. Okay, this is pec. It's called the pectoralis major. Yeah, actually, it's a good point, Agnes. So let's do the, where's my bones? Where's my bones? Right there, there. Actually, these are all lined up properly. So from the side, the clavicle is not super visible. You have, just grab this humerus and slide it over. So everything is the same depth. It's the spine there. Okay, so there's our side view. Get a little messy up now. Okay, so from the side, and this is where it gets important to know there's 3 heads to your shoulder because they don't all connect to the same bone. It's not one muscle. The shoulder is 3 muscles, okay? And this is a big thing to keep in mind. It's going to save you a lot of hassle when you try and make sense of this. Because your front head, the front of your shoulder, connects to your collarbone or your clavicle, right? Whereas your middle or medial head and your rear head connect to your scapula, right? That's going to save you a lot of heartache when you start trying to draw these things. All right, so there's one here, and then there's one here, and that's how that connects. And of course, we have the connection of the pec here. That comes in and comes up underneath, right? It kind of has a little sneaky right here where that one connects. Your pec, your big chest, here's a nipple in case you weren't sure. Right? And this is hopefully starting to all click. There's the neck muscle comes down and connects to that collarbone there. You have your trap, which comes down, is onto the scapula, goes down the back. Right? And then, of course, let's use different shades of blue for this. So I just realized that this is going to get kind of silly. So let's change this to, let's do, I don't know. Let's see, grab blue. There, we'll do the tricep in a light blue. Right, so your tricep comes down this part of the muscle, right? And your biceps down the front. That goes down that way. And in between here, we got that old, I think it's the brachia. I can't remember. It's brack something. I can't remember it. I can't remember. It's brack something. Let's look it up. Let me make sure I get this right. It's the brachiosaur. You know what? Perfect. I love it. Since you named it, give me a color for it. What do we want to color the brachiosaur? Yeah, like a Pokemon. Orange. Okay. The orange for the brachiosaur. Okay, that muscle's right in here. This is your brachiosaur. Okay. You spell that? Brachiosaur. Perfect. Okay, so there's all the major muscles of the shoulder. Let's try drawing it a little bit. Now that we have all the pieces, here's all your front delt, medial delt. Running out of room here. And your rear delt. You guys like these diagrams? Kind of fun, right? Yeah, I'll for sure put these up in the reference. With that is all the major parts of the shoulder. Brachialis. Yes, I believe it is the brachialis. Thank you, Juan Snow. So let's do something. Yes, I could space them out more, couldn't I? I probably could, yeah. Just merge it all. I'll just merge it all. I don't even care. I don't even care. It should be a little more spaced out because right now it's a little tight. I didn't give myself enough room for the side view because I don't think ahead. I think it makes you look weak. So I just always kind of wing it. I plan nothing. Not true. I make notes for every lecture because I can't possibly exist like that. Okay. That nice? It's good. Hello, old Chris. Welcome to the fun. This is your front view, side, and back. Is that nice and clear for a reference image to look at later? Yes, Ignis, that is what's next, is going to be drawing a couple angles of just from the front and the back. Like, it's going to be a very simple drawing, but hopefully it makes you go, oh, okay, whenever you do a raised arm, because that's the part that really messes people up. So I'm going to just sketch it out, and we'll see what's happening. So we have a raised arm, right? So, like, we have a dude. Here's a neck, right? And he's got his arms up, right? Maybe you draw them like, I don't know. Like, you're like, I have no idea how this works. You know, when you start drawing raised arms, you might end up doing something like this. Is that kind of close? I remember I used to do this. You kind of like, I don't know, here's a pec or something, and you just kind of start making it up. Yeah, so we'll just put in like a head, right? Here's a loose chest, and then our arms are up. Right, here's our stick figure. We draw our stick figure, there's our little ball joints. Right, you remember the stick figure? Okay. So let's start plotting them in. We know from these ball joints that we have our collarbones come down. That's a really good landmark. Right? And these sticks are supposed to represent our humerus. And this is supposed to represent our rib cage. Right? So you'll notice, oh wait, I got all the special landmarks I need to make this work, don't I? Don't I? Right, so let's slap some muscles on there. I'm going to grab the colors. Yeah, let me make sure I have all the same colors. I used red for the neck and the trap, and the mess I did in black. So let me just grab this map here so you can see all of this again. Okay, let's raise some arms. Here's a nice big version of it. Okay. So, what is the first part? The pec. Obviously, you knew that. The pec is underneath the stuff, right? We know how the pec connects. Let's grab that color for the pec. We know where it goes. We know it connects along the scapula, and it comes up the humerus. Connects there, right? So there's our pec. Look at that. We know. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. That feel a little more like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now. Arm goes up. Hands. Yeah, right? We've got our connections right. Oop. Well, I should have made the little drawing underneath a little lighter. Can you guys still see the skeleton? I want to make sure you see all the muscles come in. Yeah, ham shape. So, anyways, the pec. The pec. Insertion on the clavicle, the rib cage, and the humerus. That means your pec does this. Right? Okay, there's your pec. Easy. Easy. Even put all the little heads if you want in there, because you're fancy schmancy. Okay, what comes next? Well, we know there's a bicep in there. Make some room. Yeah, I made that a little big. There's a bicep on the top, right? We know it connects to the next part of the body, the next part of the arm. So there's our bicep. Right? All making sense so far? And then we know connecting to, I made the biceps too big, I got excited. I was like, give them big arms, big arms. We'll make them nice and make them a little smaller so you can see what's happening. Right? And then comes the shoulders. How do those connect? Well, we know the front connects on the collarbone here and here. Goes in between. Right? And it just kind of sits over top of the pec like this. It's connecting, and so all of a sudden we have a really nice, clean, raised arm. You see that? Now, of course, when you lower this down, you drop the opacity and you sketch it in. You have your collarbone. There's your shoulder. There's your bicep. There's your pec, right? And of course, your sternocleido, traps, your neck. Oops, let's make it a little better. See that? And there's like, here's your arm. We can do, well, I'm going to do this part. This is going to be next week right here. I'm going to get into all this. This underneath the arm stuff is next week. You can see why this is probably 2 lectures. I didn't want to like blow people's minds too much. Right, and here's that lat I was talking about because it connects to the back of the arm, right? See that? Is that like, did I get some light bulbs hopefully with that? Now when you raise an arm, you're like, oh, okay. Right? No more problems with this. I want to go nice and slow with it and really sort of elaborate, right? And so back to the other parts of the arm we were talking about, right? So there's the bicep up here. We know how it connects. Turn this off because like you want to put some detail on your arm. We see the bicep is, let's turn these back up a little. Wait, oh, I need my my orange for the brachiosaur and the tricep blue. So let's turn this back off. Turn that off. We have, the brachiosaur is not visible from the front of the body like this because it's going to be in between here, or sorry, should be in between the bicep and the medial, between the, it's on the top. I'm getting a little confused there. But the tricep you're going to see from the bottom here, right? So it's going to be tricep underneath here. Right, this is tricep. Right? Because you're seeing the bottom of the arm there. And then there's some stuff in here, but blah, 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 right? There's some connective stuff in here. But don't worry about that too much. And then, of course, you make them as big or as small as you want. Maybe he's like, you know, super duper big with like massive arms and is just really big guy. Big guy is your Ceratus, right? Oh, yeah, he's a big fella. And how the arms are lowered. Yeah, I know. So it's kind of funny. Like, this whole thing was pretty much to get across this one pose to make it make sense. Make it make sense. Anyways, okay, so as far as lowering the arms, we can do that too. I welcome all questions and criticisms. I did not draw the same character there, did I? Jeez. Fuck Bersatz. Okay, so I want to do arms down. No problem. So let's get rid of these. Turn our little skeleton boy back up. I'm like hitting all the wrong buttons for my layers here. Where's my skeleton? Oh, there it is. Okay. So we want to put the arms lower. Okay, we put our joints back in. Remember all our little landing marks here. Here's your arms down, arms down. Fine. Okay, same process. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, Dragon. So same thing, right? Start with the pec, because that one tends to be underneath a lot of this stuff. It inserts on the humerus, comes up to the clavicle, inserts against the rib cage. There's your pec, right? Insert, insert. There's your muscles, right? And they kind of do this, honestly. And you got your bicep, right? Inserts down here on the forearm, comes up. There's a bunch of sneaky shit in there. Right, sneaky, 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 sneaky. It like loops under it. We're not going to get into that because you don't need to know it, honestly. But you know there's a bicep there. And then we're going to grab our neck muscles, right? You remember that from the lecture. They connect there and there, there and there. Wrap comes down, connects in the back. See how this all just sort of like comes together like this big fun puzzle? Right? I honestly kind of enjoy putting it together. It makes me feel very, very smart. And so then you have your front of your shoulder. Connects on the clavicle on both sides. Over the bicep, over the pec. There's the one that connects there. Right? So you got all your major pieces. Turn down your muscles. And of course, as you do this more, you won't need to actually draw in your muscles. You'll have them inside your big, beautiful head. So you just go over the top. Remember, there's some skin, there's some fat, so you don't have to like follow it exactly. You just kind of go over the general area. And you can make them as ripped or not ripped as you want. That's up to you. Remember, lower body fat results in more visible muscles and vice versa. We turn off the layer, or turn down the layer. You can refine it as you want. This should be a little more like right? Because see, this is where you like when you now. One of the things I'm kind of bumping into here that you're going to be aware of as you do more of these studies is people take on a lot of different shapes based on their muscles, right? So if this is like, say, a gymnast, they tend to have very big shoulder heads, right? But very small pecs, right? So this is like a very developed part of most gymnast bodies. Vice versa, if you're a bot, let's go grab these so you can see what I'm talking about before I like start sketching and babbling. Ghastly Gaunt figure. Okay, so let's go grab 3 of these to wrap up the lecture, and I think that'll do it. I can only think of like some really good examples, honestly. So, yep. So I'm gonna go over to our good friend Pinterest. Why aren't you working? I'll kill you. Oops. Is there a mathematical formula for the size of everything? No. And we're going to see that in a second, all the differences. So muscles will, of course, this is going to surprise a lot of you guys again. Muscles will change in size based on how they're trained and the purpose of the body, because the body has a lot of different adaptability functions. It's really crazy that way. So gymnasts, we'll do male gymnasts. Grab a couple of these fellas. Are a great example of big old shoulders, little tiny titties. Right? So I'll grab a few guys. So here is the gymnast's arms. We don't need his arms. We don't need his whole body. So we just need this. Right? So there's the gymnast. You see how big his arms are, right? And his little chest is just teeny tiny. And then we're going to grab... let's find someone a little more wiry. He's a thin fella. I said gaunt. You want someone gaunt? Like how gaunt? Like wasting away, hasn't eaten in years gaunt? Or just like more lean? Here, we'll grab a few guys. Dropping the muscles. Got a hippie here. Are we a vegan? Oh, how dare he? Let's grab a lady. We have that too, and I'll just go over these real quick, and then we'll have a good idea. So let's do bodybuilder, because bodybuilders really overemphasize the chest development. Ooh, here's a big fella. That's cool. So, yeah. Master Roshi. Okay. So, I mean, this Renan guy might get it across. I'm trying to find like a nice lean example. Grabbing through. So let's grab, yeah, here's a guy who's, I'm trying to find a nice big bodybuilder fella. Oh, here's a good one of the side. Here's a good side one. As far as what you should do this week, I highly encourage you go and find some references and just look at the shoulder and go, oh yeah, there's the 3 heads. I'm trying to find like a real big dude, real big fella. More muscle than brains. Yeah, you know those guys. We all know those guys. Come on. Found one. Hi, I'm on steroids. I'm not insecure. You're insecure. I'm cool. Look at my sunglasses. It's not hiding my insecurity. I'm not scared of eye contact. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm just having some fun. For female muscles, so yes, I'm trying to find some. So right now I'm grabbing male references because males' bodies are usually a little better at doing your initial muscle studies because men tend to have larger muscles overall and lower body fats. But all the same logic applies to female bodies. You know, if I do like also, one of the benefits of when you look up male references, they're not wearing shirts. Women have this thing where they keep wearing shirts. Something about there's something on their chest that we don't normally show in public. So it's hard to actually study female anatomy without looking for those kinds of images, which I'm not going to show you. You should go study those, but this is a little public, so I'm not going to show you a bunch of nude references. The women follow the same rules. The exact same rules. Right? They're just smaller. Here's one. Nice and tasteful. Right? We're gonna just run through these. We just run them through, just bang, bang, boom, ba boom, boom, ba bang, bang, boom, bam, 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 bam. These girls wearing shirts, man. Pardon me, I'm just scrolling through, finding some good references to just knock these things out. No, I mean, you'll never, ever define the human body with a unified mathematical formula, ever. Because every single person has different muscle sizes, different muscle insertions. They have different ways their muscles grow. It all follows the same general pattern of like a muscle tends to have a certain amount or an average of like water composition or protein composition. But every single person has slightly different compositions. And so you will never, ever, ever mathematically solve the human body. You can just get generalizations of like, well, we have an average, right? Anyway, let's break these fellas down. We got a lot here. There should be plenty to give you guys some ideas about shoulders. Let's go over them. Okay. As far as the question section, as we get through some of these shoulders. Yeah, so the 7 heads tall thing is another example of like it doesn't really work because some people are 6 heads tall, some people are 8 heads tall, some are like 7 1/4 heads tall. It's all just a generalization to help you understand the average foundation of the human body, and then once you get that, you can modify it. Because if, for instance, you go and you look up six-pack abs, you'll notice no one has universal six-pack abs. Abs actually come in like at least a dozen average different shapes because there's lots of little intricacies that can happen in how those abs insert to your frame, and they change person to person to person to person to person, right? The reason bodybuilders get to be in like competition tier aesthetics is because they were born genetically with very quote unquote aesthetically pleasing insertion points. So that's how that works. So that's why I want to give you guys the foundation here so you can just kind of play with it. Because you're going to see here between all these bodies that you get a lot of variation in how the muscles develop and insert. So if we jump to our little gymnast buddy here, all right, so here's his pec. Right, there's the insertion on the collarbone, on the rib cage, and there it is tucking up under. Right, and then we have here is, I should have these colors closer, shouldn't I? So I'm not jipping around. So here you can see they have very big gymnasts and they have very, very, very big front delts. Right, see that? Here's his medial, and then here's a little bit of his back one comes in. And here's his bicep tucked underneath, his brachiosaur, and his tricep. Right? See that? Let me do the other side. Let's do the other side. And if we even turn this fella up, you can see this line ever so slightly right here? See that? Just visible through the screen, like this area right here. That's the top of his front delt, right? It layers over the pec and connects just between the bicep and the brachiosaur, or the brachialis, I should say. It's not actually a brachiosaur, right? And you can see these striations are also part of the pec subheads, right? See that? Is that going, oh yeah! Now we see it on like a picture with a body. Right? Let's just keep going, keep going. On our little thin fella here, our very likely vegan. Same thing, collarbone, pec, connects. This muscle is underneath the shoulder because the shoulder comes over. See that? And he's not very muscled. So, and this actually works for girl arms too. This man has girl arms. You can take that to the bank. You don't actually break up the heads of the shoulder. You just kind of think of it as a cap, right? There's a part that connects to the collarbone, and the scapula, and it comes in and connects between brachiosaur, the brachialis, the bicep, right? Here's his bicep. This is where his brachialis would be if he had one. Here's his tricep, right? Same thing. You can see here how there's this, the shoulder, the deltoid comes over the pec, right? Oh, we have, there's a bunch of tricks, helper memos. None of them are correct. They're all approximating. Very good to know. Well, yes, the approximations are very important for your learning the foundation. So I'm not saying don't learn an average. You have to learn an average. But just keep in mind that those are not tried and true. And as you get more advanced, as you learn from reference, you'll start to see this more and more. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with approximations or averages. They're very important to building your foundation. Because as you can see as you go through these guys, that these are all slightly different in terms of development, right? Like you'll notice between our gymnast, right, this fella, and our bodybuilder, his pecs are much bigger than his pecs. His front head of the delt is much smaller than his front head of the delt. Both muscles are there. They will insert slightly differently. They're just developed in different ways because they have used those muscles and trained them in different ways for different purposes, right? There's a good chance this fella has done a lot of push-ups and bench press and all kinds of pec-oriented movements, while this guy has done a lot of handstands and ring work. Those just develop the muscles in different ways. And so that's why it's important to understand that you take your average and you modify it based on how the body works, right? And hopefully I'm not getting too down the fitness hole. I've done a lot of fitness, so I tend to just start automatically going, well, the pec's connected to the chin bone. This guy's great. I think this is Jean-Claude Van Damme, actually, right? Yeah. He's ripped, right? See, you can see all the heads here. And he's actually so ripped, you can see like the striations of the muscles. So remember, a muscle is actually built up of an innumerable amount of muscle fibers, and they'll build little like sub-connections to the muscle. But you can see the overall form here. There is his front right there. Here is his medial right there. And then there is the rear right there. Very Goku. That's actually, yeah, my God, he's shredded. Wow. Well done, sir. Here's his pec. You can see it's flexing because he's going to hurt somebody. Right? You can see all the subhead. Like there's the subheads of his pec. God, he is just shredded. No wonder he got to be a movie star. I don't think the guy's seen a carb in freaking like his entire life. There's the bicep, brachialis, tricep. Oh, more like that. The other side too, right? Here's that. There's the heads of the pec. We can only see the interior of the shoulder. I'm just dropping these in so you guys can look at them later. Is this part helping? Seeing me like sketch on top of the bodies. You can see all the different variations of these muscles we're working with. Yeah, okay. So like here's our big fella. Here's our insecure roid man. Come on. We all know. Maybe he feels very nice about himself. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just breaking down a guy who's bigger than me because that's what you do, right? You crap on people who've worked harder than you, right? But you see here how his pec is very developed, so it's kind of fighting that overlapping, right? Because normally the deltoid wants to sit over top, but his pecs are so bloody big that they're actually just bordering right here, right? And his actually, my God, his medial delta is bloody massive. Well done, sir. Congratulations, you're a tank. Right, tricep, bicep, brachiosaur. Dude, good for him. I don't know. Good lord. Okay, we got our girl here, right? Pec, that'd be right here. Women tend to have the musculature in women is usually, you can see here, it's much smaller. It's close to the body, and so this goes to the idea of like when you're drawing your average girl, you just tone down the muscles, right? There's not as much mass to them. You'll notice that female lower bodies tend to have much more mass, but not the upper body. Usually they're quite small up top. Your average girl, that's just how they're built on average, right? You can see a little bit of it here, but not really. She's a runner. She's, you know, there's the general structure of her arm. Okay, with those 5, are we like, yeah, her hair looks fantastic. Her hands look just delicate. But you can see how there's a difference between like her and him. I bet she's more interesting. I don't know, I keep picking on this guy. He might be like a really nice guy, but he's kind of doing like the sunglasses. You know, there's a little bit of a douche vibe. You know, you can only, you know, I'm trying to be nice here, but like, come on, guys. Come on. Reality's not fun. Stereotypes exist for a reason. Anyway, with all that, do shoulders make sense? The top of the shoulders. We'll do the underneath next lecture. Oh yeah. There's still very large women out there, but your average woman, when you draw your average woman, unless you're deciding to make her like a female bodybuilder, they will just have less mass. And if you take a female bodybuilder and a male bodybuilder and you compare what happens, you can see how there is a sort of limit to it. But again, there's no rules in art. You can take this, you know, dude's body and, you know, if I wanted to, help, you know, let's have some fun here. We're gonna just have some Photoshop fun. I'm gonna take his head. This is, oop. Over there, we're gonna grab her. Just take this out. You know, here. Now she's the big one. And he's got little girly arms. There we go. Official lecture. Yeah, I am a professional designer. That will be $3,000. That's pretty funny. Okay. Did we learn something today, though? That would be the end of the shoulder lecture. The top of the shoulder. And like I said just a second ago, we will get into the underside. Good. Good. Now, with that, I'm going to do a little pause here. I'm going to stop the recording so we can go to the feedback section and keep the videos solid. To all you shoulder watchers or watching in the future, I love you.